Welcome along to Last Lap, and we're at Croft Circuit for the last two rounds of the MSA 250 Long Circuit Kart Championship. A full grid of drivers lined up and ready to go. Championship already decided in favour of Paul Platt, but of course the podium positions in this year's championship still to be decided.
So Chris, here we are at Croft, and a four-stroke machine. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it's basically a KTM 450 four-stroke. It's got about 65 brake horse. It's fairly similar to the 250s, the two strokes. And yeah, we're hoping for quite a good result at Croft this weekend.
Now, on a healthy grid of best part of 30 karts, the only four-stroke here, what's made your decision?
I wanted to try, with being a chassis manufacturer, I wanted to try and develop the F1 chassis around the 450. We've already got chassis which work with the 250s, the two strokes, so I wanted to try and get this chassis working around the 450 for when that takes off, hopefully.
Being a four-stroke, traditionally more torque, does that help you as you come out the corners?
Not particularly in the dry, it does in the wet. I think there's a little bit of an advantage there in the wet. So yeah, obviously with the weather today, it should be a good result. Now,
Croft, not the best of weather to be honest, but coming from Knockhill, you must be used to this sort of atmosphere.
Yeah, that's what everybody says. But this season it's been pretty dry, so this is the first time it's been raining. So it is quite difficult to get used to because we don't race at Knockhill. So it's been a while since we've been in the rain. So
now your karting career has taken you far and wide, I would imagine, and you're one of the few females actually racing, certainly in this class anyway. What first got you into this sport?
My dad used to race in the 80s, and I just kind of want to go karting. Started in 100cc's and then wasn't quick enough, 125s, and then I came onto long circuit, and really 250 and long circuit's the best. You know, I wouldn't go back to anything else, so stick here.
Okay, so from obviously a keen spectator of motorsport, you've thrown yourself in the deep end by going straight for the 250cc supercar.
Yeah, definitely. I like a challenge, and this seemed the best one. I like this sport because it's just the gears, it's about actual driving the kart, which is what I love about it. Some of the other classes, you see a bit of bumping and stuff like that, which I was really interested in. And secretly I wanted to come long circuit, so it was just the next step to come in here and race in some great tracks, and it's been a steep learning curve, and I'm definitely still learning, but it's great fun. I love it.
Now one decidable difference between your kart and everyone else's I've seen here today is they've all got numbers. You've got GP on the front, so tell us about that.
That was Snetterton in July. Very good meeting. That's the British Grand Prix. It's been running for 30 odd years now, which is a privilege to run on my kart. Some kart racers don't sort of aspire their whole life to win this title, so I'm very proud to run it, and it's a great achievement.
So I take it this is a title you'll carry now through to next year until the next race?
Yes, until it's run next year. I'll proudly display it on my kart with as many stickers as I can, and hopefully it'll stay there next year as well. We'll do our best anyway.
Francois, here we are at Croft. You've done the qualifying session yesterday, which was in the dry, and now we've gone to wet. How will that suit your driving?
Well, I'm quite good in the wet, so hopefully it'll suit it quite well. Just got to find a setup for the weather, and you know, it's all about getting front end grip and getting into the corners good. So it's a lot different than driving in the dry, obviously. And it's a lot more slippy and greasy. I think the surface here is quite abrasive. So trying little tweaks here and there to try and get the perfect setup and see how it goes, yeah.
Now, Superkarts, 250cc, I believe you started your motorsport career in 125s. What attracted you to this particular class?
Well, it's just the speed and, well, they look gorgeous when they're out there and they're so fast. I mean, you're doing 0 to 60 in about two and a half seconds like that, so nothing like it when you're an inch off the ground and you're doing 120, 125 miles an hour surrounded by karts. It's unbelievable. Nothing like it.
Now, a father for the first time, I believe, in the last few weeks, which is a challenge in itself. And does the family share the passion for motorsport?
I'd like to say yes, but my girlfriend will probably kill me. she doesn't mind me. She likes me doing it because I love doing it. And as long as she's happy with a little AC at home and I'm happy here, no, she just finds it all right, I suppose. I don't want to say too much. She'll kill me.
Francois clearly hedging on the question about family sport. It is a family sport, I've got to say, any form of motor racing, and particularly the 250cc British Superkarts. Here's the tech spec. This is what we're watching. 250cc's, most of the karts two-stroke. We heard about the four-stroke in the interviews. Power output around about 65 brake horsepower. 5-speed gearbox gives the drivers plenty to do and think about. Top speed's normally up to 130. A bit wet here at Croft, so a tad slower this weekend. And minimum weight, 205 kilograms with driver. That evens things up depending on your size in the karts. Two 10-lap races scheduled for rounds 11 and 12 of the championship. Pole position going to James O'Reilly on the PVP Honda. There he is, kart number 13. Looks like 14 from front on at times. So you'll have to excuse me if I get confused. I'll try not to, but it's kart 13. Back down the order, 64 in the mix is Tony Long, the driver from Tamworth. And this is the view from Ben Davis in 21. It's, as you can see, tricky conditions out there today. It's actually stopped raining, but there's enough spray and water in the air to make things tricky. James O'Reilly and Louis Wall on the front row. Row 2, Toby Davis and Stephen Clark as they come down across the line. Wait for lights out. Let's see if it's a good orderly start. It is. And away, look at that, down the inside. Fantastic start by Toby Davis on 4. There's his younger brother Ben on 21, and we're on board with Ben going down into Clervaux corner for the first time. He's got the lead into Hawthorns and then out towards the back straight. Let's see whether Ben is going to be able to hang on to it. Yes, he is. The blue kart with the yellow helmet. He is the race leader, but yellow and blue is Dan Clark coming through for second place. Local driver. Dan Clark's through. The rest of them look like they've made it right the way through the first few turns. That was great driving standards, wet conditions, big field. That can often equal trouble. Keep your eyes on kart number 11, Trevor Roberts, working his way through from the back, but it's Ben Davis out front, the GP plate of Louis Wall, British Grand Prix winner, who is in second position. There's 88. Francois Kish2 comes from Burntwood on the Raider chassis. Talk about the different chassis involved in the championship as the race goes on, but it's definitely a battle. Oh, in fact, up front now, it's James O'Reilly out front, so O'Reilly leading from Ben Davis, and somebody going a little bit wide there. Up on the inside goes Chris Purdy. Chris racing on the F1 chassis, locally built machine. 3 of those in this race. We've got Chris Purdy, Paul von Gerard, and Dan Clark. There's Dan in 7, just going through. So the F1 chassis is running well. You heard them say in the interview they could go well in the wet. Look how close this is. 3 wide going through the centre part of the complex, up into the hairpin. Oh, and a little bit of a tap there. Chris Purdy gets involved, and a tap on 31, Sam Moss. He's been coming up in the championship, comes from Wakefield, so not too far for him to come this weekend. Really getting in the mix, but Chris Purdy gets the better of him, and Mossy goes back down the inside. Fantastic manoeuvre. This is cat and mouse, exactly what supercar racing's all about. And Moss now trying to get himself under the rear wing of kart number 4. That's Toby Davis, so the Davis brothers to the fore at the moment. Ben Davis ahead of him. Chris Purdy pulls out of the slipstream down the back straight, heading towards Tower Bend. See if he can go through. Steve Clark on 66 behind as well, but making a break. James O'Reilly and Dan Clark into Tower. 21 running in third place. Ben Davis. 31 goes around the outside. That's Sam Moss. Using all the track. 66 Steve Clark involved in the mix. The GP plate is there as well. Louis Wall from second on the grid finds himself down in about 8th place, and just in a couple of laps. That is how close this racing is. They're all looking very good driver awareness. Everybody making sure they know where their competition is, looking over their shoulders down into Sunny. Oh, and well, one mistake and you get punished. That was Toby Davis going wide on the blue 4 kart. Here's his younger brother, Ben Davis, 21. Third in the championship. He is about 40 points down on Louis Wall, who'll be hoping to secure second position overall in the championship standings at this meeting. There are drop scores to take into account. Ben with a no score in race 2 at Alton Park earlier on in the year. But of course the drivers take it race by race. They'll want to do well in each particular event. Now this is one particular race where one particular set of conditions where you won't want to run too wide coming out of the hairpin. It's normally dry and dusty, that will lose your time, but here in the wet you're just going to skate away. Stephen Clark on 66, still heading 15. Chris Purdy in white, trying to hunt them down. Purdy, the four-stroke machine, up ahead of them. Ben Davis on 21. Moss's coming through on the inside. So Sam Moss on 31, really having a very good dice there. Still out front, James O'Reilly from Danny Clark. Down the back straight they go. Purdy on the outside line. We're just going to dip back down the order a moment. 52, Steve Burton. And down behind him on the orange machine is Graham Johnson. So useful to have a look at what the other runners are doing. The entry list this weekend, a mixture of championship regulars plus challenge drivers who aren't scoring championship points. James O'Reilly being one of those. Into Sunny they go. The race leaders though still getting away with this one. O'Reilly and Dan Clark. There is O'Reilly. Dan Clark hasn't lost too much space at the moment. O'Reilly, the race leader. Can he hang on? Join us after the break to find out. Welcome back to Croft, round 11 of the 2012 MSA 250 Long Circuit Kart Championship. Race leader is James O'Reilly. Now he's not in the championship, but he's leading the race. There's the man scoring top points at the moment, Dan Clark, and look how clear these two are off the field. They've almost worked together to pull away. I say almost because O'Reilly has just about had that little bit of edge over the second place man through the race. I'm not sure whether Dan Clark realises that, he will realise that he's the top point scorer. So whether he wants to go for the outright win, I'm sure that would be great, but of course he doesn't need to bust a gut to do anything other than go away with the 40 points for the race win in terms of the championship. 68, Aaron Sifley there from 44. Peter Bennett, the great Yarmouth base driver, number of skill on the back. Not sure if he's had a little bit of a tap at some point during the race, but they carry on. Here's the leader, O'Reilly, best lap time so far, 1:32.496 at the halfway stage. There is Dan Clark. He's in the 1:34s. That was back on lap 3, so his best pace in the earlier part of this event. And the lap record here at Croft, obviously in dry conditions, set way back in 2001. John Riley, 121.47, 93.99 miles per hour in the dry. And remember, top speed of these machines, 130, and you're literally inches from the ground. It's got to be one of the most exhilarating kinds of motorsport that you can imagine. And I know car races that have seen this championship in the last couple of seasons, considering the move over. So there is Dan Clark, an ex-car racer himself. Started off in karts, did a bit of racing in Legends cars, and then came back into the 250s. He's got a bit of ground to catch up on O'Reilly at the moment. But look at the gap that he's got back. Now, he's the top championship runner. We're running now on board with Ben Davis, still in a very healthy race position. And there is Ben, the 21, with the yellow crash helmet. Stephen Clark in 66. Busy and 11 is ahead of him. Now, but the kart number 11 that's ahead of him is Trevor Roberts, right the way through from the back of the grid. Trevor Roberts, the Ulsterman, his engine seized on the opening lap of qualifying. We've got a problem there, I think, for Sam Moss. And Trevor Roberts there on the black machine had a broken little end bearing, and he started 26 and stone last, and he's carving his way through the field. This is a masterclass from a top-line driver. Here's Ben Davis still looking to consolidate third. Championship-wise, Paul Platt leads the championship and has indeed secured it. Louis Wall second, Ben Davis third, his brother Toby in fourth, Dan Clark fifth ahead of Sam Moss. Probably those places, barring anything significant, pretty much sealed as we look at Louis Wall on the GP plate, trying to put the number 4 kart of Toby Davis under pressure there. Louis Wall, second in the table, has had 2 outright wins, both of those at Thruxton. 3 fastest laps so far this year, one of which came in round 1, all part where he was second. And off goes 52, Steve Burton, the Little Everston driver on the Anderson chassis, spins off. Most of the chassis in the race are Andersons. Here's another one, Stephen Clark from Brighton in 66 up at the sharp end, trying to close down on Trevor Roberts, who in turn is looking to catch the 15 machine ahead of him. That's Chris Purdy. So the Davis brothers not up really at the sharp end at the moment. Ben looks over and through goes his brother on the inside. So Toby Davies now up ahead of his brother, championship points wise. Ben on 2.83, Toby on 2.66. So very close. The brothers very evenly matched over the course of the season. I mentioned Ben's non-finished. Toby's had 2 non-finishes so far. One at Bishop's Court race 2, one at Thruxton race 2. Took a fastest lap at Bishop's Court and the overall win in the first race there. So a very good meet, very good trip for him to Northern Ireland. And a very good trip from Northern Ireland for Trevor Roberts through on the inside. Side by side with Chris Purdy. A little bit of rubbing between the two. Purdy's going to try and look up the inside line again. Doesn't work for him. Out of the hairpin they go. What's Purdy going to do? Switch back to the inside line here. Roberts again aware. Quick glance over his shoulder. And Purdy races back past him as they cross the line. Chris Purdy back into position. This is beautiful racing between these two. This is for third place. Second position in terms of championship points. Here's the race leader, the Viper Racing UK 13 machine, James O'Reilly, fastest man on track, getting away. Dan Clark still second, and here's the scrap for third place at the moment, and it is still Chris Purdy there at the moment. The F1 chassis, built locally, 3 of them in this race as we mentioned. James O'Reilly out front at the moment, he's on a PVP. The other manufacturer side from Anderson is Raider, Francois Kishtu and Tony Long racing those. But third place, what a great scrap this is. And coming up as well is Steve Clark. Trevor Roberts looks over his shoulder once again. Back down the order now. Catherine Foster leading Paul Von Gerard. Von Gerard in the green and white karts. Of course, we spoke to Catherine earlier on. You'll have gathered she's a Scot with the Saltire on the front of her machine at the moment. She's got the better of Paul, running in 14th place. There's Graham Johnson on the 22, running down the order inside the top 20, and Trevor Roberts back up into third place, and now fourth place Chris Purdy coming under pressure from Stephen Clark. This will allow Trevor Roberts to get his head down to see whether he can close on Dan Clark in second. Purdy's lost out now to Steve Clark, who's up into fourth. Clark on 46, on 66, the right base driver still hanging on, and Purdy, who comes from North Shields, that's where those machines are manufactured, so it's a good local interest for the F1. It's a KTM 450 on board that machine, certainly running well. Here we go with Ben Davis, who I think has been passed, yes it is, by Louis Wall goes through, so Louis Wall on the GP plate, second in the championship. 2 outright wins for him. Ben not looking the most comfortable in these conditions, and you can see how difficult it is with the spray that's out there on track. Ben the blue cart with the yellow helmet, there's his brother involved in the mix as well. Toby looking down the inside line. Let's see whether he can go through. Side by side. Ben looks across, and in fact he's managed to hold on to the position as they come through the Jim Clark S's. Sticks his hand out. Now, has he got a problem? Or is that an acknowledgement? Oh, it may be an acknowledgement for the yellow flags that are there. So stationary yellow flag. We've got somebody out of the race on the outside as we go back to Paul Von Gerard and Catherine Foster. Paul's having a look down the inside as they come into Tower Corner side by side. Catherine's got the faster line and hangs on to it, so Paul's going to have to try and gain the momentum again, build it all up, have another go on another part of the circuit. But here is Louis Wall still running in 6th position ahead of Ben Davis. Now his brother's dropping down the order. I think that was what the wave was. It was acknowledgement maybe of a problem for his brother, perhaps a slow puncture, not quite sure. Across the line they all go, and we're well into the closing stages. Louis Wall still there in 6th at the moment. Remember, 40 points for a win. On off goes 64. That's Tony Long, the Tamworth driver, is off. Ben Davis coming through, and he's off as well. Ben Davis off of out of a very healthy point score. He's in the gravel, he won't be able to get going from there. Here's the 3rd, 4th and 5th place machines. 5th at the moment is Chris Purdy, up ahead of him Steve Clark, and ahead of them Trevor Roberts through from the back of the field, the 11 plate driver running so well, but at the front it's still James O'Reilly. Turns the 13 cart into the first part of the complex, now up to the final bit of it, which is the hairpin. Back marker traffic being dealt with effectively. Out of the hairpin we go. Steve Burton on 52. I think that's about to be lapped. Goodness me, we've seen some terrific racing. There is Lee Shepherd running in 9th place, up ahead of 17 Mark Vaughan. Those two engaged in battle for 8th position. Sorry, Lee's actually in 8th at the moment, Mark 9th. But James O'Reilly on his last lap, leading this one by a good margin ahead of Dan Clark, who scored the top points. Chasing the race lead around is Steve Burton on 52. There is Lee Shepherd. Once again on the 9 machine, past those 2 carts down at turn 1. 3rd place, Trevor Roberts. Down behind him is Steve Clark. This looks relatively settled now. Roberts going through Tower, looks over his shoulder. Looks like a podium from the back of the field. What a drive. And what a drive too from this man. James O'Reilly on 13, out of the middle part of the complex, into the hairpin for the last time. He's going to take the win. It's not championship points for him. He's a challenge driver, but a win is a win. And there is the checkered flag for him. Checker for James O'Reilly, who wins the race. There is Dan Clark second. Trevor Roberts will take third. Roberts taking the 2nd place championship points, but this one a superb result for James O'Reilly on 13. Pole position, win and fastest lap for O'Reilly. Dan Clark second from Trevor Roberts. Steve Clark in 4th. And then Chris Purdy ahead of Louis Wall. Adam Underhill 7th from Mark Vaughan. He got the better of Lee Shepherd. Peter Bennett rounds out the top 10 in kart 44. They were followed by Ashley Mack. Toby Davis 12th from Paul Von Gerard, who got the better of Catherine Foster. Then it's Francois Kishtu, Aaron Sifley, Kevin Ridley, Steve Burton, Graham Johnson 19th, and David Morris in 20th.
So James, a really good race there, and you had a really good lead at the end.
Yeah, it was good. I got a very bad start. I fell asleep pretty much, and I was about 6th going to the first corner. And then by the end of the first lap, I was back into the lead, and just thought I'd try and do a few good laps and get away. I saw Dan Clark was still behind me after a couple of laps, so I tried a bit harder and managed to get away, and just from then had a big gap and cruised to the end really, just trying to get there and not do anything silly.
Tricky conditions weather-wise, I would have said. Certainly a big group of cars going to that first corner there. What were your thoughts as you first went round?
Well, I guess we've all done it before. We've all seen what can happen, so you just got to be a bit cautious. And we had 2 rolling laps, so we knew kind of what the grip levels were like. It was quite slippy out there. There was a lot of oil and sort of residue from fuel and whatever you on the circuit, so kind of took it easy and just watched what everyone else did and tried to pick some gaps and get around the first few corners. That's the important thing. I knew we're always quite strong in the wet, so as long as I could get around the first few corners, I knew I'd be all right, really.
Dan, what an excellent race that first race was, and a brilliant start.
Yeah, I've been wanting that all season, to be honest with you. It just never actually came till the last round, but never mind.
Now, second across the line, but technically first with regards to the championships. That hasn't done you any harm.
We were getting a little bit with the engine cutting out, so I was having a good race with James, and I kind of thought he's not in the championship, so I just let him go kind of thing. So seeing I had the gap behind us, so there was no point really pushing on.
Now, some great battles in that race, and I believe your background is with Legends Racing.
It is, yes. Watching them this weekend, missing them a little bit, but no, the karts are awesome to drive. You can't compare anything to these things. So.
The transition from Legends to karts, totally different disciplines. So what attracted you and how have you found the transition?
I started off in karting originally when I was 17, 18, and we left the sport to go to Legends, but I just always missed the karts. But no, the Legends are a little bit more tail happy, should we say, but that's my driving style anyhow, so it worked out very well.
Now race 2, I can see your mechanics working hard there. What sort of setup are you going with the race 2?
I'm praying for rain. I love racing in the wet, but we just go back to the dry setup because I think it's going to be dry for the next one.
And who do you see as your sort of closest competitor?
Toby and Ben Davis in the championship anyhow. So I've got to beat them, I think. I don't know if I can catch them on points, but I'll have to have a look.
Now, they didn't have a very good race the last race.
No, and hopefully it happens. Nothing against them, but hopefully it should happen again. But no, I like racing with them too. Absolutely brilliant. Really good close with them as well. So roughly the same pace.
And does Croft as a circuit suit your style of driving?
Yeah, it's a home circuit as well, so I really like it here.
Trevor, a great race there. Started from the back and third place. That can't be bad.
Yeah, they're working hard in this team. Yesterday didn't go so well. The little end broke in the engine, and we didn't even get any timed laps, so I had to start from the back. And it's hard work, especially in the wet. But it was a good race, yeah.
Some quick progressions through the pack there. You soon came to the front of the field.
Well, some of the other lads obviously haven't been around here in the rain, and I've been racing maybe a lot longer than some of them, so a bit of experience goes a long way in the wet, you know.
Just going back on that experience, you've got quite a pedigree yourself as regards to past achievements, including a World Championship. Just tell us how you started in karting and what your progression has been.
Well, obviously I'm from Northern Ireland, and I've been doing most of my racing in England, and I've raced all over the world. I've been world champion once, I've been twice British champion. I've won the British Grand Prix, I think, 5 times, and several times UK Cup. Karting's been good to me, so it has been very good to me.
250cc, very competitive class. Are you sticking with this in the future?
Well, we don't actually know what we're doing karting-wise next year. We're going to have a little run in the Formula Ford next year. I've never raced a car before. It won't be as quick as this and as exciting as this, but I've been offered a car to race, and I'm going to have a little go at that and see how that goes. But I'm not walking away from karting in any means. If these guys want to give me another chance to have another go next year in karts, I will have another go in karts next year. It's up to the team that I drive for here. They obviously sponsor me heavily, and it takes a lot of effort to put this on the ground, you know, and I just turn up basically, put my leathers on, helmet on, and give a bit of lip and drive, you know. So
Stephen, so started 4th on the grid. They're not the best of starts.
No, I got a bit eager off the start and ended up dropping the clutch a bit fast, and everyone went past us. I think I dropped down to 8th, 9th by the end of the first lap. It's a terrible start, to be honest.
Mid-race though, some great battles I noticed.
Yeah, there's Purdy in the 4-stroke had a good battle with him. Trev Roberts, the world champion, had a great battle with him, who just pipped us to the line towards the end. But it was great. It was good fun drive, to be honest. I really enjoyed it.
What plans for race 2?
I'm starting 4th on the grid, so hopefully get a better start and then go onwards from then. It might dry out, and I think I'm stronger in the dry, so hopefully I'll be able to get a better position.
Now these machines are awesome and extremely fast. Just give us an idea of what it's like behind the wheel of one of these.
Well, I went straight from Rotax Max into one of these, and it's like nothing else. Like the acceleration, the braking, passing each other at like 120, 130 mile an hour. It's just nothing else. It's one of the best experiences you can pretty much live for it. So it's amazing.
After today, what's the plans for the future?
Go away over the Christmas, get the kart ready for the new season, get some new adjustments, all that kind of thing, and then come back fighting next year. Try and go for the first place.
If today's programme has whetted your appetite towards British supercar racing, why not check out the website to find out more information. That all-important address, www.superkarts.org.uk. A full field of karts ready to contest the final race of the 2012 MSA 250 Long Circuit Kart Championship here at Croft. This is the man who starts 4th on the grid, Stephen Clark. You can see Adam Underhill on his inside, kart number 39, the yellow and black machine. Pole position though goes to the winner of race 1, James O'Reilly. Dan Clark alongside him there in yellow and blue. Second row, Trevor Roberts on the black 11. It's the 66 red and black outfit of Steve Clark on the outside of row 2. Chris Purdy in white on 15, and the GT plate of Louis Wall in 6. They're followed by Adam Underhill and Mark Vaughan. Lee Shepherd and Peter Bennett rounding out the top 10. Rounding through the hairpin now onto the main straight. Dan Clark and Stephen Clark just weaving to get a little bit of heat into the tyres as they run down towards the gantry lights at the start-finish line, ready for this rolling start. This is the view from the outside of row 1. Lights out, we go racing here at Croft for the last time this year, side by side by side by side. Look at this is very crowded and all okay at the moment as they come into Clovo. No, it isn't. right across the track. 44, Peter Bennett went sideways across the track. It could have been worse for him. He's off to the holding area by the looks of things. Stephen Clark involved, Catherine Foster, Ashley Mack and Martin Goodliff all involved as well. Now the front runners, really you've got to say the front is the place to be here, because it was mid-pack where it all kicked off. And there may well be yellow flags down there for a couple of laps while they get that sorted out. That is, if we don't have a stoppage. Now Dan Clark seems to have lost a few positions on the opening few corners. It's not as wet out there now. I don't know if that's a factor. They were saying how good the F1 chassis was in the wet, and the lap times we're expecting to be 3 or 4 seconds quicker than they were in race number 1. But out front, it's James O'Reilly. We can't see him at the moment. Trevor Roberts in second place. We're looking at Louis Wall about to mount a challenge on Dan Clark. Ahead of Dan Clark is his F1 teammate Chris Purdy. Dan's got his onboard. Quick look over the shoulder. All the drivers here, enormous amount of respect and camaraderie in the field. They all know how to race with each other. You still got to afford yourself the odd glance to be aware of what's going on, and all the drivers do that. Driving standards, of course, at 130 miles an hour have got to be absolutely spot on. So Adam Underhill on the 39 machine up the inside of Louis Wall. Remember, Louis second in the championship. Looks like he's going to wrap that up. Across the line they go, down into Clervaux. Waved yellows, that indicates they haven't got everything sorted out down there. And this is the view from Dan Clark. Now remember, under waved yellows, technically he's supposed to be backing off. None of them are going to do that. They're not going to overtake, but they're not going to back off so far that they would lose ground on the front runners. So Chris Purdy at the moment got the lead over his teammate, but here is the race leader, back marker in between himself and Trevor Roberts in black, who's running in second place, back coming up the inside and challenging hard. Is Toby Davis looking for second. There is Dan Clark, then none of them too far behind. Certainly haven't lost touch yet. Adam Underhill running well. Adam finished 12th in the timing sheets, 7th in race number 1, looking a little bit sharper here. This is a scrap per second at the moment. Toby Davis looks down the inside. The Legend driver's through. Very well timed manoeuvre. Great pass on Trevor Roberts, who started third and now finds himself back in third position. There is Peter Bennett, the great Yarmouth driver who was involved in that skirmish on lap 1. I think he was the kart we saw going off into the holding area and managed to get it back on. I think probably had a very quick look over the kart and got back on, so he's a little way down the order but still fighting, as indeed is Toby Davis, who goes across the line in second place from Trevor Roberts. Then it's the white machine of number 15, Chris Purdy, and Adam Underhill at the moment has got himself between the two F1 chassis. So Adam Underhill on 39, just between those. Trevor Roberts trying to get second place back, but James O'Reilly is away and down the road in the race lead. There he is, you just saw him. James having a little bit of back marker traffic to deal with after that opening lap skirmish. 52 Steve Burton, I think one of the casualties of that. Steve sticking relatively to the inside, the 52 machine, and a good clean line. Looks like Trevor Roberts looks as if he might try the inside line. Dips back to the outside. You can see there that Roberts in third place has lost a little bit of ground. Let's go back and look at lap times. At the moment, the fastest driver is Toby Davis in second place, 1:24.350. It's still damp out there, but he's getting within 3 seconds of the lap record, and they're about 4 seconds a lap quicker than in race 1. So down on the inside of Steve Burton, that's the back marker. Again, he keeps to the outside line. Safely through go Chris Purdy, Dan Clark, Adam Underhill behind them into the hairpin. Purdy's taking a slightly wider line on that run down in towards the hairpin, probably more of a racing line. Dan Clark not able to capitalise on that. Here they come down past our pit lane camera, and Adam Underhill's coming out of the slipstream and looking down the inside of Dan Clark. Here they come, Underhill's through, the black and yellow kart's through, past Dan Clark again. Here we go, on board with Daniel going up into Hawthorne's corner, working hard. I tell you what, if you suffer from tennis elbow, the last thing you want to do is race a car. It really does shake you about. Probably even the smaller karts who do it, these even more so. Shows you how physical these machines are to drive. Physical, you need precision as well. Well, that's good. Catherine Foster's out and racing in 33, a little bit of a way down after that skirmish. And I think being lapped, but at least she's getting some value for money out of her entry. She's on circuit and racing hard as we go back and see Chris Purdy still leading Adam Underhill, then Dan Clark, Still out front, James O'Reilly. Will he hang on to this last race of the year? Join us after the break. Welcome back to Croft, the last race of the 2012 MSA 250 Long Circuit Kart Championship. Dan Clark about to be challenged there by Louis Wall. Louis still going for second in the championship. Dan fifth in the table. I don't think that's going to change too much this weekend. As we look at 21, Ben Davis hasn't had a fantastic weekend. It's got to be said. Ben Davis way down the order, but he's given us some great onboard shots. And remember, championship-wise, he's really performed well. Third in the championship coming into this meeting, but I've got a sneaky feeling his brother's going to take fourth place by the end if things stay the way they are. So there is 71. David Morris on the white Anderson comes from Walsall. Back down the order, 64 is Tony Long. He is passed by Ben Davis, who's making progress. Back markers starting to cause a little bit of work for the front-running drivers. Sam Moss in 31 has come right the way through from the back. Now remember, Sam Moss was a non-finisher in race 1, and that means that he started 24th on the grid, but he's come up and he's challenging these guys. Everyone throwing brand new tyres for the drier conditions, but the talk is that it's going to get wetter here at Croft today. As Louis Wall looks down the inside of Chris Purdy, slingshots him up the inside. He's got the momentum. Sam Moss is going to try and come through as well, but Chris Purdy has got a little bit more pace, a little bit more speed carried round the outside, hangs on to position. Dan Clark down behind them. Still got loads of work to do as they start to cut their way through the traffic. Catherine Foster sticks to the inside, slows down a lot actually. Catherine Foster actually still not in shot. I think she might have a problem as they come into the hairpin. Let's look back. There is Catherine Foster, arm aloft, and the lady racer from Cowdenbeath in Fife, Scotland, is going to be out of the race. Oh, what a long trip she's going to have back, but we'll regroup no doubt for next season. Down into Clervaux. 26, Tony Pinder, back marker driver at the moment. Let's see whether Sam Moss can fight his way through. Moss has got now ahead of Chris Purdy. Through goes Dan Clark as well. Look how quickly these machines go. We said that it's all action, it's physical. It is very definitely precision driving. Down the back straight, this is where the rallycross cars form up here at Croft. Now down into Tower Corner. Many a race car, full-size race car, ploughing off on the outside of there. We haven't seen any superkarts do it this weekend. The driving standards have been exemplary amongst these guys. And this is Dan Clark. Very exciting shots from on board the local driver, running in yellow and blue. The colours a little bit reminiscent of the 1970s Matchbox 30s Formula 1 cars, I've got to say. It's a great colour scheme. Now here's a driver making his way back. Peter Bennett was involved in that first corner skirmish, climbing through the field, and he at the moment is in, I think, about 15th position. David Norris in 71 following him. But Steve Clark, of course, will carry the onboard. On the rolling part of the lap, as off goes Aaron Seifleet, the Walsall driver, goes off, recovers very quickly indeed, past the stricken Catherine Foster machine. Catherine leaning over the fence and watching the race, enjoying it as best she can. 26 is Tony Pinder. Black and white kart, the man who's driven up from Cleethorpes to race here today. And Tony gets passed by the Walsall driver. Good recovery after that moment on the at the complex. Here he is still. Aaron racing well ahead of Tony Pinder. We've got some front-running karts, I think, about to gobble them up over the next couple of laps, but the race leader is still number 13, James O'Reilly from Toby Davis in second place. These two still very much hard at it. Conditions quicker than they were in race number 1, as we said. Back down the order, Paul Gerard has raced really well. Now he's knocking on the door on a top 10. Mark Vaughan in 17 ahead of him. Paul Gerard manages to go past Tony Pinder and involved in his scrap with Mark Vaughan, man from Weymouth. And Von Gerard looks up the inside. This is where we saw Sam Moss trying to make the move on Chris Purdy a few laps ago. Wipes the moisture away from his visor. So not only have they got to contend with gear changes, they've got to get the water out of their eyes as well, out of their vision. So Von Gerard, he's all over the back of him at the moment, really working hard, and Mark Vaughan having to be just a little bit defensive. He's got to deal with the back markers as well as they come down the straight. Nice little scrap between those two. Black flag going up someone. Can't see the number, of course, on the board from this angle, which is a shame. Now Von Gerard looks down the inside. This is going to get him up nearer to the top 10. Contact was there between the two. Getting very close indeed. This is what I mean about precision driving. On board with Gerard. Through Hawthorns. Into the chicane. Up towards the back straight. He's through. Paul Von Gerard goes through, past Mark Vaughan. The next man that he's got to catch is Francois Kishtu, one of the challenge drivers. Down the back straight, you can see the grid lines from the rallycross circuit here at Croft. They use it for all sorts of racing, but the race lead still hotly contested by James O'Reilly on 13, Toby Davis in 4th. Into the hairpin they go once again. Well, it's starting to rain. You saw spits and spots on the camera. A lot of these karts are on slick tyres. Is that going to catch anybody out? James O'Reilly, race leader. If it was... oh, and he's gone off! O'Reilly goes off into the gravel. Crikey, O'Reilly, he is off out of it, and through into the lead goes Toby Davis on number 4. So Davis now is leading the race. The battle for second is going to be between Trevor Roberts, Sam Moss and Louis Wall. But Toby Davis, who won at Bishop's Court, looks like he's on for a victory here in the last round of the championship. He won round 5 and took fastest lap there. He's got fastest lap here as well. Got number 66, Steve Clark, trying to get up into the top 10 on his recovery drive. There is Louis Wall chasing Trevor Roberts at the moment. Sam Moss running now in second. So Moss up ahead of these boys. Trevor Roberts headed them earlier on. The GP plate of Louis Wall trying to put them under pressure. Adam Underhill is down behind them. Then Dan Clark and Francois Kishtu. And we mentioned Paul Von Gerard trying to close down on them. The wet weather catching a lot of drivers out here. So wave jellos all the way around, seemingly all around the circuit. Off goes 21. Ben Davis is off. Ben's off, his brother in front at the moment. There is Trevor Roberts still trying to hunt down Sam Moss. We've got several karts off the track. You can see it's getting wetter conditions, very tricky out there, and a number of karts off the circuit. Through goes Dan Clark. Graham Johnson running well. He now is just outside the top 10 with Stephen Clark behind him. So 11th and 12th place we're looking at there at the moment. Trevor Roberts from the GP plate of Louis Wall. Roberts, and it's a red flag. It's a red flag here. What a shame that the season's going to end this way. Now the result will go back to the lap before the incident, and Trevor Roberts was leading then, so Roberts will take the win. Sam Moss will be second, and Louis Wall that we're looking at there on the GP plate will take third position in this truncated race. We've got a driver off at Sunny. The news is that that particular driver is okay, but clearly in the interest of safety, stopping the race, and the result declared at 8 laps. Trevor Roberts the winner from Sam Moss. Louis Wall in third from Adam Underhill. Dan Clark 5th. Then Francois Kishtu from Paul Von Gerard. They made it well inside the top 10. Mark Vaughan 8th from Lee Shepherd and Graham Johnson in 10th. Then it was Steve Clark, Peter Bennett in 12th, David Morris 13th from Charlie Johnson. Tony Long 15th ahead of Tony Pinder and Ben Davis, Kevin Ridley and Aaron Seifley 19, the only 19 finishers.
So some excellent racing there, challenging conditions. Trevor, tell us about your race.
Well, the race sort of came to me. My engine's not quick enough, and I was struggling a bit for speed. And I seen the rain. The rain was coming. It was on my visor and down the back, and I sort of thought to myself, right, okay, if it's going to be wet, and these guys started to go past me, and I sort of thought, right, and then they started to fall off one at a time. So I just sat there and basically waited till they all went off and finished first. So it was good on my behalf. It's not the best race I've ever had. You know, I don't like winning races like that, but we're struggling a bit for speed. So I just had to let the rest of them go, and then the race came back to me. So it was very good.
You certainly provided some good action. Well done to you. And over to Sam, second place. A good end to a weekend where, first race, we had problems with an exhaust, I believe.
Yeah, on the third lap, the exhaust broke on the bracket, so I had to pull in. There was no way I could get to end. And then I started right at the back for the second race. Everybody were on the same boat with new tyres. I just had to make it as good as I could. So I got through into about 4th, I think, until it started raining, and then, as Trevor said, everybody started falling off. But I quite like it in challenging conditions, slicks when it's wet, so I'm able to capitalise.
Second place in the championship overall at the end of the season. Great end to a great season.
Yes, very good end. It's what we came here to do this weekend. Paul's already cleared up the championship, which is great for him. Congratulations. But we were just pleased to improve on last year's result, and good meeting today. It's what we came here to do. So yeah, finish on a high anyway, and good hopes for next year.
So here's how they wound up after the last lap of the British Superkart Championship. Paul Platt already, of course, confirmed as winner. Louis Wall takes second. Toby Davis is in third ahead of his brother Ben. Dan Clark takes fifth from Trevor Roberts. Then it was Sam Moss in seventh. Adam Underhill eighth from Ashley Mack. And Aaron Seifley rounding out the top 10 of the British Superkart Championship table. In terms of the challenge, that is won by Francois Kishtu, 243 points, playing Martin Vaughan on 183. Steve Clark next, ahead of Chris Purdy, then Steve Burton and Martin Goodliff in 6. Well, sadly, that's all we got time for from Croft Circuit. Join us next time for more top national action here on Last Lap.